And to formally start this session and introduce our featured organization for this learning session, please welcome the Country Director of PPSA, Ms. Amy Melissa Chua. Ms. Amy, good morning.
Thank you so much, Rai. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for spending your Wednesday nga po ba ngayon, morning with us for this Usapan series. To all those who are new to this platform, PPSA is a multi-stakeholder platform recognized by the World Economic Forum and the ASEAN Secretariat through Grow Asia, and funded by entities such as the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the Canadian government, the Korean government, among others, and a number of agribusinesses in the Philippines and abroad. Our vision is to be the enabler of multi-stakeholder partnerships for sustainable and inclusive food systems towards empowering smallholder farmers and fishers to be self-reliant and resilient. We work po to achieve this through the pooling and facilitating and leveraging of the collective strength of agri-value chain players, people like you po, to develop and implement market-driven solutions to agricultural and smallholder farmers' growth. What this means is we unite agri and non-agri businesses and various stakeholder groups, including the government, research and academe, diplomatic community, and farmer groups, so that we can help smallholder farmers become more productive market players. So today po, this is a special event for us since this is the first of the many sessions of PPSA's Usapan series as mentioned by Ryan earlier. So sabi nga po ni Ryan, every month we will feature organizations and topics that could support you in more effectively participating in inclusive value chain projects, agricultural development, and food systems transformation, not only in the Philippines, but also in the ASEAN region and maybe globally. So this learning series po is part of our larger goal to advance learning of our partners and of course of the teams that we work with. So this event is also special because today we are featuring PPSA's newest member, MIDA, Mennonite Economic Development Associates, an international economic development organization that creates business solutions to poverty. For nearly 70 years, if I'm not mistaken, MIDA has been creating business solutions to poverty that are sustainable, scalable, measurable, and replicable. We'd like to thank MIDA, led by its country manager, Ma'am Catherine Sobrevega, for trusting the PPSA and partnering with us with in their initiatives. So with the able leadership of MIDA, we are creating a Cacao working group, which will be announced in the few weeks by the PPSA Secretariat, led by through Jade. And please wait for further announcement on this. But for today, we'd first like to formally introduce MIDA and their programs on Cacao. So without further ado, I hope to call in Ms. Catherine to formally introduce the learning session. Ms. Kat, over to you.
Thank you very much, Amy, Ryan, and thank you to the PPSA team. So good morning, everyone, partners and guests. Thank you very much for spending your time with us today to join in this learning session. I hope this will be the first of the many that we will have with PPSA. It will be a good timing also for us to introduce MIDA for those who haven't heard of us, our project, which is focused on cacao value chain, and our partnership with PPSA, which is we're looking into like a strategic partner with PPSA on our strategic learning agenda component. So thank you.
Imagine a world where failure isn't an option, where there are no second chances because there is no other choice, where success is paramount, even when faced with economic instability, political fragility, and inequality. Entrepreneurs who exist in these environments can work their hardest with all of the knowledge and determination they possess and still struggle to get by. At MIDA, we imagine a different world. MIDA partners with entrepreneurs around the globe to build sustainable businesses that create opportunities for families to give their children a better future. Alongside local partners, we support women, men, and youth to move into valuable and equitable roles that aren't dependent on aid, so they can become agents of change and leaders in their community. For over 65 years, we have been global leaders in economic development, providing financial services, impact investment, improved technology, business training, and better access to markets for those who have skills but need some extra support for their businesses to flourish and succeed long term. Our focus on business and systems within the agricultural sector is what sets us apart, striving to help people achieve a decent job, one that provides dignity, equality, a fair income, and safe working conditions. Through partnerships with private and institutional donors, millions of people have been given the tools they need, so they are empowered not just to meet basic needs, but to earn a livelihood, grow their business, and create a sustainable future for themselves, their families, and their communities. MIDA. It's more than aid. It's investment in people. It's business solutions to poverty.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine. We are pleased to have you, your team, and Meet the Philippines in the PPSA. We're excited to learn from your experience in Mindanao, especially in the cacao sector. So at this point, sisimulan na natin ang Usapang Cacao to facilitate the conversation. So please welcome Ms. Susie Vanidad, our PPSA Communication Officer. Hello, Susie.
Hello po, good morning po sa lahat and welcome sa ating Usapang Cacao, our resilience and inclusion through investment for sustainable agrikultura. So mukhang marami pong interested sa ating topic. So thank you so much po for being here today. So pwede po naming matanong kung saang cluster or sectors nanggaling ang ating mga participants. So meron po kami ipa-flash na Zoom poll. So kindly answer it po. Ayan, do you see it on the screen po? Sige. So we have participants from the academe and research institutions, meron din from government agencies and NGOs. So thank you so much po for being here today. Sana po marami tayong matutunan. So today we will have a conversation with MIDA PH about their strategies and approaches that they are doing through their RISA project. So joining me in this conversation is Sir Roderick Valones, Market Systems Technical Lead of MIDA Philippines. Good morning po, Sir Derek. How are you finding today's session so far?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Susie. Good morning, everyone, and we're excited and looking forward to exchanging ideas, and hopefully we could reach more actors, market systems actors, stakeholders in the sharing with us their experience and how we can move forward in supporting the cacao industry in the Philippines. Thank you.
So thank you po, Sir Roderick. Can you introduce with us yung RISA project ninyo ng MIDA? Roderick?
Yeah, okay. So there is a project. It's a 5-year initiative funded by the Global Affairs Canada. It's envisioning to, we have 3 intermediate outcomes. One is on supporting the business companies, we call it SME, to integrate in their business operation the environmental, social, and governance consideration. And we also have support to the cooperative. We're targeting actually 15 cooperatives to improve their farming and business practices that is inclusive and environmentally sustainable. And the last one, we'll discuss more on details about this, on how to improve the practices of market systems actors and stakeholders on how to integrate also and promote best environmental and social governance practices. So we're targeting 5,400 smallholder farmers, and 40% of that are women. Yeah, in Davao region and BARM. So hopefully through the other initiative, we could also expand outside of Mindanao. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, as you can see, our approach, as MEDA's approach, we're not confined only to agri value chain. Looking at the the framework, it's integrated because, most of intervention in terms of supporting economic development is on value chain. So MEDA is focusing on agri-food system. So we look at also the supporting functions. When it says supporting function, we have to analyze what in the technology innovation, what in the infrastructure and logistics, the impact investment, the skills and programs that support and support services could be from the government, from the private sector, from the civil society, and we also look at and analyze the enabling environment, including the laws and policies, regulation standards, informal rules, and socio-cultural norms that affect what could provide support to the cacao agri-food system. So it's not only economic. We're not only looking at economic. In the next slide, you will see. Can you next slide, please? Yeah, we wanted to have those impacts on the environment, economic, and social to contribute to the inclusive and sustainable and just agri-food market system. And for RISA, we're focusing on the cacao crop. So we are envisioning that what we are providing or providing intervention to the cacao market system would contribute to generation of decent work to support sustainable economic growth in a particular sector. Anything that we do, for example, in the environment will have impact on the agri-food market system. Anything that we do with the communities, the economic interventions that we do also have impact on the agri-food market system. And so, next slide, please. Yeah, in our strategy, we collaborate and work with different and strategic market systems actors and stakeholders in providing technical assistance. Like, for example, with Co-op, we tap the services of strategic or those business service providers that have expertise in terms of assessing the environmental, social, and governance consideration of the target cooperatives and small, medium, and enterprises. So we will know what their capacity, their needs, their vision in terms of gendered, environmental, social, and governance. And we also provide support in co-developing action plan and co-developing proposal that will be supported by smart incentives. So as part of the wrap-around support of MEDA, we also provide on social inclusion awareness to target and specifically doing intra-household gender transformative activities. And we also have a business service provider here support us on those specific activities, including those community activities such as the participant training workshop. So next slide, please. And on the third outcome, on how to improve the practice of relevant and strategic cacao market system actors and stakeholders in promoting best environmental, social, and governance consideration. We wanted to collaborate with all these actors and stakeholders in developing learning agenda and how to best engage those cacao industry councils from the national, regional, down to provincial level. Next slide, please. What is this strategic learning agenda as part of our strategy? We consider ourselves, because we're working in our market system. So we consider ourselves as one of the puzzle that could address the business problem. So we'll be working with several strategic market actors and stakeholders to develop learning questions that will be answering to address those knowledge gaps. So that, for example, we wanted to validate if our assumption within the research theory of change still valid. And so in co-developing with other market systems actors, who will know that we need to answer more questions and also inform our research agenda and our implementation in terms of the decisions that we'll have to make during the implementation. And it should be based on the evidence that we'll be gathering through answering those learning questions. Next slide, please. So, yeah, these are objectives in why we are doing the strategic learning agenda through participatory action research. We wanted to really increase investment in the market system. When we say market system, as I've mentioned earlier, we're not only focusing on the value chain. Like, for example, Philippines has a very diverse and critical biodiversity. So we also wanted to promote investment, for example, in protecting biodiversity, in involving the women, youth, and indigenous peoples in decision making, so that they too benefit and make decisions that address their needs and priorities. Yeah, it's co-created because I mentioned earlier we're only one of the pieces in the puzzle, so we cannot solve everything. It's a very complex system, so we really have to work and collaborate with all the strategic market actors and stakeholders to address those knowledge gaps. And then in not only in generating evidence or knowledge, in disseminating those evidence and best practices, we have to really work together to do this so that we can reach more clients and scale our impact. Not, as I mentioned earlier, not only in the Davao region and BARM, but also outside Mindanao. Next slide, please. So yeah, we already have existing learning questions. One is on the impeding, what caused the slowdown of equitable growth in the cacao sector. That is related to environment, climate change, related to gender equality, social inclusion, and human rights, and also access to finance. And the second one is, how do you integrate gendered environmental social governance? When we say gendered, you have to analyze environment, for example, how women and youth and indigenous, how women and men, or even the youth, participate, take leadership, or make decisions in terms of protecting the environment. How this marginalized sector, like for example, indigenous peoples, are taking part or benefiting in the, for example, yeah, we also would like to know if integrating those considerations would really increase their profit, productivity, and retention, for example, of their members and employees. And the last one is on gender lens investing. I don't know if most of you are familiar with gender lens investing, but based on our research, it's still very nascent in the Philippines, very new. And so we would like to know and further the discussion on gender lens investing with our target strategic organizations and businesses. Yeah. So the second strategy in bringing together the market system sector and stakeholders to support gendered, environmental, social, and governance consideration. We want to support the Cacao Advisory Group. So, for example, in Davao region, we already have this existing Cacao Industry Development Council from the region and down to the provincial level. So we are assessing the structure, the membership, and leadership. Actually, we've done 2 meetings with them. So we already knew how do we position in terms of the structure, because we wanted to have this Cacao Industry Development Council to be inclusive, and then and of course impactful in their programs. So we also helping them assess their needs and the gaps in support to their vision. So in terms of the needs, please next. Yeah, we analyze those needs in terms of the environmental, social, and governance. Next, please. So if you can see the slide, next, please. There are those key needs in terms of the women's access to information, the technologies, specifically on adapting to the impacts of climate change. In Mindanao, particular, majority of the women don't have access to information and technologies that will help them adapt to the impacts of climate change, as well as the IP rights. And based on our research, many of the indigenous peoples who are participating in defending the environment are being silent. So yeah, it's still part of their rights to really exercise their their rights. And also the youth participation, we see that there are very few youth participating in the cacao industry, and we also are faced with the mindset issues that should be addressed also by the industry, as well as the coordinated roles and interventions, because there are many players, and if there's no one giving directions, so magiging kanya-kanya po yung trabaho, and it will result in more slowing down the progress in the cacao industry. In terms of the environment side, traceability and sustainability is also an issue that the cacao industry need to address too. On the governance, as I mentioned, additional to governance consideration is on collaboration. We really need to collaborate. Like, for example, based on our integrated market system analysis, there's very weak collaboration between cooperatives, smallholder farmers, and the small medium enterprise. So our vision, our desire is that RISA would build a long-lasting business relationship between cooperatives and SME to address major issues in the cacao industry, with guidance and support from the cacao industry or cacao council. Yeah, the investment is cross-cutting. So because agriculture is high risk, there's very few financing institutions. You can just count maybe 1 or 2 financing institutions that are providing financial support to the cacao sector. Next slide, please. Yeah, in terms of the result of our rapid assessment along gender, environmental, social, governance consideration with small, medium enterprises and cooperatives, these are the results. I think a while ago I mentioned about the financing. So there's very limited financial products and services that really cater to the specific needs of cacao actors, cacao market system actors. There's also very little support to access the needed technical assistance or business support. And as I mentioned earlier also, the convergence between the government, NGO, and CSO still very limited, or shall we say weak. So yeah, we have started working on several market actors and stakeholders to converge, because many of these programs, for example, from the government, from NGO and private sector, they're also helping the same cooperatives and SMEs, for example. So we have to talk. Yeah. And also along gender environmental initiative, we have to also find the intersection in that side, so that our technical assistance is also aligned with the needs of SMEs. And for the cooperatives, yeah, extension services still limited, mitigating impacts of climate change. I've already mentioned that one. And representation and leadership. Maybe they're talking about representation in the Cacao Council. Yeah, and we also have to align our policies on strategies, plans, and programs on gendered, environmental, and social and governance consideration. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, I think there's a cross-cutting there. The brand of Philippine Cacao, for example, then we, based on our integrated market system analysis, the needs of the Philippines is really on fine flavor cacao and sustainably produced cacao. That's where we can get higher revenue. But the question now is, how do we get those institutional buyers that give premium price or pay premium price to smallholder farmers? Yeah. Next slide, please. So how do we support in strengthening the existing Cacao Industry Council? We have started assessing their capacity and needs along GSG, and then next it will be doing action planning in terms of how we will address their needs in terms of capacity or their programs. And it's a co-development of the plan, and then also co-implementation with the support, of course. We're really seeing the partnership with PPSA as an avenue to strengthen the capacity of the Cacao Council, and also in generating and communicating those evidence to answer our learning question. So yeah, next slide, please. So moving forward, we cannot do it. We're very thankful to the PPSA, and we're really looking forward to the partnership that we will really result in reaching more clients and yeah, and market actors and stakeholders to participate here in promoting gendered, environmental, social, and governance approach. And then, of course, to support business growth in the cacao industry, we'll co-develop and formulate strategies that addresses their needs, and also provide technical assistance to the Cacao Council. And based on the learning sessions that we'll do together with, in partnership with PPSV, we'll be generating evidence, and then those evidence we'll share with market systems actors and stakeholders in scaling the impact to support or to get those small scale producers benefit from those evidence or best practices that we have generated. I think I'll stop there, and we can start with the discussion or exchanging ideas. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Roderick, for sharing with us the RISA project. Saktong-sakto kasi Women's Month ngayon. So yung RISA project is looking at it not only from an environmental lens, but also from a gender lens. So sabi nga po ni Sir Roderick, we're only pieces of the puzzle. So tulong-tulong po tayo dito. So we've also seen some questions here na sa chat box. Let's see. So we have a question from Sir Roberto Acosta for Sir Roderick. So is the GESG study industry being discussed here available online? Can you share a little bit about your study po?
Yeah. For specific to GST, we're starting. We can share very few information, but it's at the level of small medium enterprises and cooperatives. So the assessment that we did is on, like for example, for SME, we called it EGM, the environment, gender equality mainstreaming, and for the cooperatives, it's the gendered ESG assessment. But overall, for the whole cacao industry, we can share the integrated market system analysis. So it's a comprehensive analysis of the market system of cacao, and we can share that report. Actually, we have already shared or distributed to last year, so we can still share the report.
Okay, thank you po. So while waiting for more questions, just to recap from what you shared, may we ask po how your project, what you saw na mga problems in our cacao councils na kailangan pa nating ma-address?
Yeah. In our recent meeting or introduction of MEDA and RISA projects to Region Cacao Industry Development Council, one of the major concern that they have is the supply of beans. So the low yield and the pests and diseases that contributes to low productivity, and of course the impacts of climate change are one of the major key issues in the industry. And yeah, and the other one is who will direct everyone or coordinate everyone in supporting one direction or a shared goal in the industry. Because if everyone will work on their own and nobody is providing guidance and direction overall, so we will not really reach the or contribute to the cacao roadmap that the government is pushing for everyone.
Sige po. So sakto po nasagot niyo yung kakadating lang natin na question. So yung challenges and opportunities facing the cacao industry today. So aside from yung mga climate change impacts, yun din yung problem na hindi masyadong nag-uusap yung ating market and then yung ating supplier. So yung focus po ng RISA project is sa Davao and the Bangsamoro regions kasi po yung there's a high poverty incidences in Mindanao. So can you also share with us what some observations from your engagements with the cacao farmers in Davao and BARM?
Yeah, yeah. I just would like to add more on because there was a question on opportunities before I answer your last question. I think for the opportunities, I think many of the participants would know that we have a very big supply deficit, supply gap for cacao. Based on the record of PSA, and even because some people would say that the data from from PSA, from PSA is not updated, but the bottom line here is that buyers are asking, where are the beans? So there's really a very low supply of the beans. So the opportunity there is that there's a big demand for cacao. So we just need to really get those institutional buyers to be on board in the discussion so that they know the problem also and really put value on how the smallholder farmers are doing to support the cacao industry so that they give or pay premium price. Because for the farmers, income is very important. But if you're getting very low income from cacao, it doesn't matter for them if they cut down their trees or convert to other crops that would provide them income. So yeah, this kind of venue is helping us to send message to buyers also of cacao that smallholder farmers need really income to support the cacao industry. And to your question about our experience with the smallholder farmers and in Davao region and Barm, I can recall one cooperative that we did focus group discussion. They were saying that yes, if you double the price of cacao, then we will definitely support the cacao industry. And they were also saying if you really increase the buying price of cacao, if we can convert to GAP certification, we can convert to organic farming, we can have our cacao farming certified by any third-party certification. So the bottom line here is the income that they get from cacao. So I think that's major. Yeah.
So talagang kailangan pa po ng support ng ating smallholder farmers para ma-improve pa nila yung kanilang income. So, earlier naman po you were explaining na there's a need to strengthen the cacao councils. So, na-highlight niyo po yung mga GESG. So, why is it important that we also give priority to this? And ma-apply po ba siya to other value chains? Kasi in PPSA, meron din kaming other working groups such as coffee, meron din on rice in the future. So can this be applied to other value chains?
Yeah, I'll take us to respond.
Yes, and yes, Lucy, this can be also done in other value chain. I think for us, when MIDA started to come in the Philippines, we just saw that there is an opportunity for us to go into the cacao sector. And we just thought probably we can bring in the models that we did in different countries. We can bring it here in the Philippines. And then we also decided because our focus is on the systems change. And since Davao is the chocolate capital of the Philippines, we just thought that probably it will be good for us to focus here so we can easily see the model, how it works, and we can expand to other regions in the Philippines or probably to other value chain. I think it's very important, especially now that most of the donors are looking into what Derek was saying, the triple impact result, not just on income, but also looking at how the business or how the cooperatives can support the community and being inclusive, having the women, the youth, and the indigenous sector. I think that's one of the things that we're looking into. And if you also remember our project, it's a wrap around service, meaning we wanted to have the business, the small and medium enterprises and the cooperatives to access other forms of finance. Like right now, if you can see, most of the projects are accessing finance from the government or the finance. What we are offering or what we are introducing is the impact investment. MIDA has been an impact investor for the past 70 years since we started development. And we just saw that probably supporting a business, supporting an organization that will also be doing what other NGOs like us are supporting the environment, being conscious about the environment, being inclusive about the women. I think it's not only MIDA, it's not only organizations like PPSA who will look into this, but there are also other private sectors that we can bring into the space. So I think that's the things that we're looking into and looking also like for the company to know that they have also like a mission to fulfill that aside from making sure that their business becomes profitable, they are also there to support their environment and also support the people around.
Thank you po for sharing that. So we have more questions lined up here. So it's another follow-up question from Sir Roberto. So while waiting for the cacao trees now to mature and bear fruit, what interventions do you promote so that the cacao growers can earn a decent income during the waiting period?
If you have noticed in our presentation of this smart incentive, it's part of the wrap around. It's a smart incentive
we have a money award and bundle support through technical assistance, market linkage, access to finance, building relationships with different market systems actors, so that even after the intervention, the business relationship continues. But specific to the question on how we could increase income, this is smart incentives that we provide to cooperatives and SMEs would help them analyze or think of interventions or activities or based on their needs that would address a particular market systems barrier. I can cite an example. It's not the conventional way of providing support, like for example, from the government or the private sector or from the civil society or NGO. They would just give grants, and then it's the cooperatives or SME to make use of the grants, and it's not really addressing the market systems barrier. But for MEDA, it should be clear that, for example, the market system barrier in addressing or increasing the yield or income is access to environmentally sustainable agriculture input. Or the barrier is that the women, for example, are not accessing the equipment or technologies that would meet their needs and priorities. So we will incentivize the SMEs and cooperatives so that the use of the smart or the matching award will be to address that barrier. So I can cite another example, like for example in Davao City, there's a cooperative, and their main issue in their cacao farms is the pod rat infestation. So, and the market system barrier there is access to low cost but effective fungicide. But you know, MEDA is our approach is integrated markets, inclusive and sustainable agri-food market system. And so we have to take into account when you use a particular inputs or technologies, their impacts on the environment, on the women, on the youth, or indigenous peoples. And so we will provide the matching grant to incentivize the cooperatives and other market system actors to support the access to low cost and effective biofungicides, so or even biofertilizer, for example, so that when we build the business relationship between or among those market system actors, if the farmers or the women, men, youth, the smallholder farmers find that technology or inputs effective and will generate more income for them, then the relationship continues. Even then, the intervention or even the matching award is used up. So another what do you call this? Another idea would be to incentivize cooperatives and smallholder farmers to plant or use crops that would generate income, for example, as intercrop to cacao, and at the same time would promote or improve the vegetation of the cacao farm, because we wanted to really maintain the biodiversity in the cacao farm. Based on our birds assessment in 4 cacao farming areas, the percentage of or the vegetation, really, the kind of crops, the diversities of the vegetation really impact the productivity also and the biodiversity inside the cacao farm, as well as the participation of women in conserving the environment. So those things really have to consider in providing the matching grant or matching award, I should say. Yeah, the smart incentive. Yeah, another
Maraming
one.
salamat po, Sir Roderick.
Thank you.
Sige po. So on that note po, paano po makakapag-partner sa inyo yung other regions kahit for sectoral interventions? Kasi sabi nga po natin, we need collaboration to make our cacao sector more sustainable and inclusive.
Yeah, I think the first one is through the Cacao Working Group, because our commitment is to support first the Davao region and BARM. So as we are working in a market system, so yeah, we really wanted to really scale up those best ESG practices, not only in Mindanao but outside Mindanao, because we wanted to really support and scale up the benefits to other smallholder farmers in the Philippines. So I think strategically, the Cacao Working Group would be an ideal venue for collaboration so that we can also support other smallholder farmers outside Mindanao. And but our commitment first is to support the smallholder farmers in Davao region and BARM.
Yeah, I think so maraming salamat po ulit. Okay, si Miss Catherine po would like to share something.
I think to add to Derek, we're currently doing our country program strategies, and actually cacao is really a priority aside from other crops, and we're looking at probably expanding to other regions. But what Derek was saying, I think the venue for the cacao working group is a good opportunity for us to really know what's in there in the other region. Can the same model be replicated? I think that's one, and probably because of our 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 venue now, we can share learnings, we can share things that we have done in the project, and probably by the time we will go to another region, it will be a better or improved um, interventions, or probably there are other better opportunities for us to be engaged. But right now, this project is funded by the Canadian government with a focus on Davao and the BARM region. And while doing this, we're also exploring how we can expand this project in other parts of the Philippines.
Sige po. Thank you so much po again, Sir Roderick and Miss Catherine, for sharing with us the RISA project. So the RISA project is a 5-year project pa naman, and we have so much opportunities to explore outside of Davao and the BARM region. So maraming salamat po sa nagpadala ng mga questions ninyo. Sa mga hindi po namin nasagot, we will note this and we will get back to you. So again, if you're interested sa Cacao Working Group, you may reach out to me, our Cacao Working Group lead and PPSA, of course. So over to you, Sir Rai.
Thank you, Susie. Before we close the session, let's have a quick poll. We want to get your feedback on this learning session. So, wait lang po. Ayan.
So for this poll, we'd like to ask you lang po your satisfaction on this learning session. Very satisfied, satisfied, and not satisfied. And then yung pong topic na gusto nyo po sa next po na batch natin ng Usapan series or Usapan session. And of course, if you are interested po to be featured, or if you want your organization to be featured in this Usapan series, just feel free to reach out to PPSA Secretariat po via the chat box or via email through the PPSA Secretariat. So we only have 61% who've submitted po responses to the poll. If we can increase it po to around 80 or 75%, that would be much appreciated po. Salamat sa inyong lahat. Over to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ms. Ami. I will end the poll. We have 76 already. So Thank you. And to end this session, may we call on Ms. Jade Herrera, our Partnerships and Engagement Manager, for the closing remarks. Jade?
Kuya, before the closing remarks, could we have lang a quick
Sure.
group photo?
The group photo. Okay, sige.
Yes.
So may I request everyone to open po our camera for our group photo po. So, ayan. So we have to screen here. So, yung may mga available po na camera. Yes. Yan, open. Okay, count to 3 po. 1, 2, 3. Smile po. Smile. Ayan. One more pa po para sa ating second okay, next. 1, 2, 3, smile. Ayan, we're done. Back to you, Jay. Thank you. Thank you, we're done. Back to you. Thank you, Jay.
Sorry, I was on mute pala kanina. Kulang pa ako sa hot choco kasi kakawang usapan eh.
Chocolate.
Yes. So thank you po for joining us today, and of course to MIDA Philippines for sharing with us yung mga strategies and approaches that you have been using in the RISA project. I'm sure everyone here learned a lot from this brief conversation, and we hope we can continue this kind of usapan series nga in the following months. So indeed, it is high time to focus on the agriculture sector, and our country is rich with economic opportunities that we can explore and pursue, lalong-lalo na po sa cacao. So we learned from today's conversation that the Philippines has a competitive advantage for cacao production, and very strategic din kasi yung location natin and even the climate conditions, and yung soil condition ng Philippines is ideal nga for growing cacao. So as MIDA highlighted in their presentations, marami pang gaps na kailangan nating i-address if we want to maximize yung Philippine cacao's industry potential to grow into a more dynamic and competitive industry. But we can only do this if we work together. So papasok din po dyan yung tinatawag nga natin na responsible investing, and then yung collaborations and active engagement ng mga key actors and stakeholders in all stages po ng cacao value chain. So we hope that more people, more organizations, and more sectors will take an interest and active participation in empowering and strengthening our cacao sector. And in line with this po, as mentioned earlier po by Ms. Ami of PPSA, and of course with Ms. Catherine of MIDA, we are planning to convene key stakeholders and actors in the following weeks to work and collaborate together dun po sa tinatawag natin na cacao working group, where we can help facilitate yung development and strengthening of the cacao sector. So we hope that everyone here will be open and interested po to be part of this cacao working group, and we can see how we can work together. So before we end today's session, maraming salamat po for sharing your time with us. So this is just the start of our other conversations, and we hope to see you again in our future learning sessions. Good morning, and Kuya Rai.
Thank you, Jade, and daghang salamat po sa aton o sa ating lahat and for attending this first session of our Usapang series. The Usapang Cacao Resilience and Inclusion through Investment of Sustainable Agrikultura is brought to you by Philippines Partnership for Sustainable Agriculture and the MIDA Philippines. Thank you, and see you in the next session this coming April 3 po for the Usapang Kape naman. Regenerative Agriculture for Sustainable and Resilient Coffee Industry. Maraming salamat po at maayong buntag ulit.
Daghang salamat.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye po, daghang salamat.